Hello and welcome to this sixth video in the series for UGC Net. It's focusing on current affairs and artificial intelligence and topics from ICT and so on, economics and so on. So it's more about those things than about the the static part that doesn't change. And this is what I encourage you to do as well. And this is covering research skills as well, along with the actual topics I'm looking at. I would love to go on a different pace at a different pace, but and that would make the video shorter, and I will be doing that for sure. But in the last one, I made it in two parts, 5.1 and 5.2. I'm sorry about that because I wanted one long video and I had to stop abruptly. That's because information that I wasn't prepared to share. Also, this is kind of more or less live, so I'm not doing any editing whatsoever. I do apologize for anything that might be off, anything that might not be to your taste. For example, the speed. I would recommend you to watch those videos on a greater speed, at a greater speed. Anyway, let's get started with this thing that I've been using but haven't discussed so far. The thing is, I've only kind of mentioned what it is in passing, and I would like to take an entire session on this. And the thing that I'm talking about is I'm using Cadaver. If you know what Cadaver is, I'll come to it in a moment. But the thing is, the combination of words or the phrase is knowledge economy. So today's topic is knowledge economy. I'll be going through this all for all the minutes that I spend on this, for all time in this video today. So that's 30-40 minutes, whatever I will be able to record it for. Now, of course, you get a lot of things. You get so many results, and I'll be covering particular research skills. I'll be looking at some particular ideas I'd like to share with you today, and that's how I've thought about this particular video that I'm recording now. So 27 pages. So as you can see, as we go away from the first page, the results deteriorate as to the relevance of what you search for. It's a basic. It degrades to string matching, literal string matching, because you have here knowledge now. Knowledge now is because there is knowledge in my search term, and knowledge as currency, a new economy. So knowledge is there, economy is there, and it tries all sort of variations on what I've given it. And this is how Google search works, and how search engines work, and how querying works. And something of this is already there in the video on databases. Please do look at those. Please do go through those videos and find out about databases as much as you can. Great. So knowledge economy. Knowledge economy. Today's date is date and time today. Yeah. So how do you start researching the topic? I would just throw this at you, and let's kind of talk business, or let's cut to the chase. So how would you start researching this topic? That's what I'm going to be doing. This is hands-on. Okay, so how would you for example, knowledge economy coined by when, and I'm deliberately putting all of those things in strings. I have AI to answer everything, and I don't want to use that. Peter Drucker, 60s, Mashlab, 62, the production and distribution of knowledge. Okay, the rise of the knowledge economy, knowledgeowl.com. I don't know what that is. Knowledge-based economy.com, the role of knowledge in economic life from bacon to whatever it is. That's TNF, and that's a well-known journal. Brock University, never heard of it. Open journal system, Period Journals Publishing, Science Direct, towards a definition of knowledge-based economy, Federal Reserve Bank of Dollars globalizing the knowledge. Yes, this is the kind of thing you would look at, because this is coming from a resource that you would trust on such a thing immediately. Of course, there's this thing about taking things with a grain of pinch of salt, and thinking about think tanks and things like that. I've been talking about those things other places on other platforms elsewhere. I can mention where, but let's keep it for later. Globalizing the knowledge economy. That's something that's assuming the existence of knowledge economy and so on. And somebody must have come up with it, and you would have research papers and everything on these things. And I've been saying this for months and months now, that this is probably how language has always been used. It's not the first time. So, for example, Chanakya on speaking, Chanakya on how to speak, and so on. A drift from the mother tongue. Right, lots of things that I absolutely don't want here. I don't want Chanakya Niti. Chanakya Niti is a book. It's a text. It's a well-known, regarded, highly regarded text, and so on. And yes, yes, as you can see, I don't have anything on Chanakya on language. For example, you could have Wittgenstein on language. It is well known, but you don't have Chanakya on language or something like that. I can't see it here. At least, for example, Plato on aesthetics, for example. Plato's aesthetics is one thing. That's later commentators coming up with what Plato thought about these things and so on. But Plato wrote books on certain topics, and history of aesthetics is something that contains Plato. So we can be sure that this is something Plato talked about. Plato on beauty. Yeah. So yes, we do have something on this topic by Plato. Medieval theories of aesthetics, and Plato is not. I mean, there is a entire range of reading, and, and reading at a great depth and so on. And I'm not getting to those things right now, but Chanakya on speaking, and in Chanakya Niti, you might have these particular chapters, these particular sections where something is available on how you speak, how you use language, and what. I mean, for example, if you're talking about, Richard the Second, Richard the Second was Richard the Third, Richard the Second, Shakespeare's history plays. The point is, there is a certain way kings speak. There's a certain way one is allowed to speak in a given context. If you read Chanakya, if you read Machiavelli, yeah, Machiavelli, whatever the pronunciation, and you need to know the pronunciation. You need to get the name right. I mean, only recently come across with. So you have great. I'll just go to. Now it's a plain text file. It needs to load. It has loaded. Yeah, it's not too big and it's loaded. Yeah, great. Or I should say, so there's this chapter where Odysseus kills, or no, sorry, Odysseus does something violent. I don't want to use the expression, but Odysseus punctures Cyclops' eye, and that's what the expression is. It's violence, of course. But after this violence, Odysseus boasts that this is my name, and if you wanted to sell someone, you would tell this. And Polyphemus, or whatever the name is, Polyphemus, whatever the name of this Cyclops is, Polyphemus, this um, Cyclops, you can think of Harry Potter. Harry Potter probably came from here. So did Tolkien's and everything that you have today in the name of uh, reworking ancient this and that and so on, Viking invasions and medieval and anything at all that you can think of. You could think of, you could come up with something along the lines of Chaucer in today's time and or some other time and so on. I was discussing this with someone years and years ago again as well. Point being, so reimagining, and you know what's going on, and I wouldn't want to comment to that. I would. I have said this before. I'm saying this again. I'm going to repeat what I said years ago. Read it in the original. Read it in the original. The thing is, to read it in the original, you need to know the language. To know the language, you have to learn such languages as Sanskrit, Latin, and Greek are. Ancient Greek and ancient Latin. And there are so many varieties of Latin, for example. And there's modern Greek, and you don't want to. I was discussing this with someone. I was talking about ancient Greek versus modern Greek. I wouldn't want to learn the latter. I wouldn't want to learn just about any derivative of. Latin, and even then, even when we are talking about Latin, we are looking at ecclesiastical Latin, other considerations that you have to have when you have to take a look at least when you're deciding what you want to do, and that's why you have set syllabus, and that's what I've been saying. How much will you learn? Polyphemus does pray. Polyphemus's father happens to be Poseidon, who's one of the gods, and Polyphemus prays for Ulysses's destruction or misery for Ulysses as much as possible, that kind of thing. In summary, that's what Polyphemus prays for, and it is granted to Polyphemus. That's what Odysseus's course is about, and improper name is what triggered all of this. Improper name is improper name. I could. I was reading a particular translation, Odysseus translation. I know this is not the best way to teach, but I'll give you another puzzle. And actually, this is not a puzzle. You have the answer here. You with this augmented kind of thing with Google search, you can search anything and you don't have to. The point is, you would search this using bibliographies of work on Homer, that kind of thing. This is what you have to develop. This is the kind of this is a research skill that you would need to develop when you're studying literature, studying towards a literature degree. This is what I did. This is what uh, learning looks like to me, no matter what the costs are. But that's a big thing to say. Okay, so classics, Homer classics, that's a great place to start. Oxford bibliographies, but again the question of access comes up headlong, kind of. And by the way, that remind me this. So the question is, how do you organize your research work? So I am giving you so many things, and it's so much from memory, and it's so um, mingled up, mingled, and if it's the right expression, right? It's so mixed up, such a mix, such an assortment, and so on, right? So him, the almighty power, hurled headlong, naming and so on. You could look. I have already discussed Dartmouth, and him, the almighty power, hurled naming from the ethereal sky, and so on. The point is, you have to start looking at these things, and Google search, AI, they are not shortcuts. They're ready-made solutions to problems, puzzles, exercises that you're supposed to go through yourself. For example, I have read a mathematics books. You don't read a mathematics books, a book on mathematics. You do a book on mathematics. That doesn't sound very well, but you go through all of the exercises, work on them, work on the problems, and then you call yourself having read the book. That's how it works with mathematics. So with people who know science, physics, chemistry, maths, might be aware of this. It's a famous book, and you solve these problems. Okay, this is the idea, and I'll get back to what I was talking about. And this is one thing that you require if you were learning machine learning, and the math behind the artificial intelligence chatbots, agents, robots, whatever it is that you can call it, that you'd like to call it. So bibliography, the work on Homer, that's where you'd start, and you'd look at a history of translations, on how much translation. So here, what comes in handy is the first result would be this, and it's so famous, it's the top result. And this is organic, by the way. There is organic growth versus artificial SEO. You could read about this if you wanted. And if you read about SEO, history of SEO, you will come across things such as boosting, for example, creating unnecessary unnecessary backlinks. That is a way of boosting your presence and getting on the first end results on Google search and so on. So that used to be a practice. Now it's no longer. It's actively discouraged by search engines and so on. So it's about the history of internet, history of search engine optimization specifically. Coming back to this Perseus digital library, if you're, for example, if you're talking about a translations of the Bible, that's on the syllabus. Bible, and if you're talking about KJV versus some other NIV translations compared, you are coming across things like the interpretation of this word, the translation of this word, the most accurate translation of this word, and this phrase, and this group of words from the original in ancient Greek and so on, in ancient Latin and so on. So for example, as you can see, if I were to search polyphemus, okay, this is database search. By the way, this is an application of databases. As we saw the other day, we are talking about structured query language, SQL. This is an application of database, and all of this information is coming from database or databases. There can be multiple databases. They can be the same database with different tables, and you have the organization of books and these texts in these databases, and it depends how the database is designed, what the overall structure is, and what the requirements are, and what the um, trade-offs were, design considerations were, and all of this is something that you have to consider when you're talking about writing a website from scratch, for example. So this is paginated. Pagination is simply having n units of x items, dividing x items into n units, and it's simple calculation that you can come up with, right? I'm not counting these things. There is no point. So I would showing results 1 to 10. It is here counted for us, right? So 10 results from the at least 60 results, or yeah, 50 to 60 results there, 51 to 56 results in all. So 56, yeah, 1 to 10 of 56, it said so here, right? And this is about how much you're observing, how much your peripheral vision. Okay, that's that's not going to all of that. And let's get back to knowledge economy where I started. If you want to research on translations, if you want to research on naming, if you want to research on properly calling something by its proper name and so on, as you can see, these are things coming down from ancient history that which was recorded, written history and oral history and things like that. And uh, oral history, a lot of it gets corrupted, a lot of it gets lost, and interpretation, hermeneutics, as you know, is neotics is whose prerogative. So it gets serious at the very least after a point. Okay, so and then there's a lot that can be said about this naming and how to speak, right? And knowledge economy. So this has been named by someone. The concept has been labeled with a name. you can have many names. I'll give this as an example. Okay, 125 unique and spiritual names of Lord Krishna, and you could talk about, and there is, I mean, there must be many other examples. And there's this thing about, so you have to be careful while going about these things, because this can lead to um, uncalled for situations. So I have touched upon this, and I'll get back to what I was talking about. If you know about names in Hindi, in Sanskrit scriptures, you know about these things already. The point is, these names are derived from adjectives and so on and so forth, and this is assuming that this exists already, and this is getting into philosophy. This is the very, I mean, I'm scratching the surface of philosophy, and we are talking about a concept which has been labeled, which has been Christian, so to speak, which has been given a name, and the name keeps traveling. And the point I'm trying to make is that this is not the first time that this kind of thing is happening. In some other time, maybe in Chanakya's time, in some other philosophers' time, this would have been referred to by something else, or this would not have been the focus of what people discussed. The question comes up: who gets to talk about these things? So the nine of Ashoka, I think. The 9/11, I don't know. The nine unknown, exactly. So this is about the polity. Polity, if I'm not using the word incorrectly. This is about how the political structure of any given time is, and the nine unknown. This is about something from, yes. I'm talking about this one. This kind of thing. This is, I'm talking about, this says it's ministers of kings in ancient India, in India, not. The point I'm trying to make is that knowledge has always been privilege, and you have to, Ashoka's secret society, nine unknown men, yes, this is the kind of thing you want to look at. And this is getting into Bose and the officer in British police thought he was not dead. That kind of thing. So you could say that this is making up, but again, I must tell you that is one thing you could look at. Unsolved Mysteries, not the film, not the film. Again, everything is not film. But the phrase is this: you want to find more about this, and this is the kind of thing I'm talking about. There's no specific, no evidence of a specific officer in the British police named. No, I'm not talking about someone named Bose. This is how artificial intelligence parsed it. Parsing, parser. I know this from my engineering again, and this is I can point you to books. Okay, so all of this kind of thing. Yes, this is what parsing looks like, and if you want, I can give you this. This is what you want to read if you want to know about parsing. Such a nice cover, right? So coming back to, no, this is totally off the mark, right? See how Google search returns results to queries. So I would encourage you to find out if this kind of thing exists. Okay. Point being, because it's this organization, Federal Reserve Bank of Dallas, I will just go ahead and read what this is. This may be, for example, media bias check. I've been talking about think tanks. I have mentioned think tanks already, right? And I've mentioned think tanks in other. So, for example, I don't know. I'll just give it a go. Nothing found. Nothing found. What am I allowed to search? What am I allowed to search? No results found. Okay. You could search things like, I don't know, anything that comes to my mind. Bias checker, charts. I've, I've given you. So this is center, and the rest is easy to deduce, right? So this is the kind of thing we are talking about, and no matter what the results come out to be, this is a Fed organization, as they call it, Feds in the US, and you can be 100% sure that it has nothing to do with bias ratings and any of that. But what I'm talking about is, all of that aside, you would read these kind of things because it's coming from such an organization, such a source. I did not go through any of what I came across. I did not go through the dot coms. You need to go through the dot coms and everything. But I stopped here. I did not stop at Elsevier, for example. Science Direct is Elsevier, right? I stopped here. So the point is, this is 2007, by the way, and you can see that knowledge economy has been in discussion for so much time. So how would you go on about? You have the name. The thing is, what do you know about the name? What can you know about the name? And this from this I went to improper name and so on and so forth. I was reading recently. I'm not disclosing everything that I'm reading. You would not disclose everything that you're reading. For example, for reasons such as you wanting to write something on this, you're currently working on something that has information that you would publish as your original contribution to research and so on, right? And this also gets back to what I said in the last video: whose brain? My brain. And then you're talking about, yeah, brain research is, it's a vast topic, and I have very particular things on my mind. See, creating a map of word meaning in the brain. That's something new for me. That's something new for me, and it's not old. It's 3 July 2024. We are talking about creating a map of word meaning in the brain. So, what all comes together to give you a mapping between a symbol? It can be a phrase, a group of words, a combination of words. It can be nonsensical words. It can be Edward Lear's poems. It can be something from King Lear instead. It can be anything at all. It can be some mundane phrase that you use without even thinking about it, idiomatic expression. What gives you a map between this symbol? That's what I mean when I use the word symbol. I'm not using the word. You could use anything that you can use to communicate the mapping to. Again, we are communicating mappings when we are talking about meaning. So what I said and what you understood. So I'll go ahead and share this. So this has been there for this is coming from I think Ramcharitmanas. If I see the photo and I see this, I don't read that. I will not read AI as much as I can help it. So that's Tulsidas and Ramcharitmanas. If it's Ramcharitmanas, it's Ramayana. So Ramayana is the one place where you start. Coming back to coming back to I have not read the AI output. You can check and you can cross check and you can get back to me if I'm wrong. I don't know. I saw the picture. I said Tulsidas and Ramcharitmanas and Ramayana, and the rest is history. Let's focus on this: creating a map of word meaning in the brain. The difference, of course, is that Tulsidas did not have science and technology. So um, let's get back to this. There is a lot that you can read about this, and I'll put it on screen. I think it is here. It is into speech, into picture. Once you have the signal, once you have the machinery to convert it, you can have any modality. You can have speech, you can have text, you can have video. It's just image plus yeah, you can have a picture and so on. So the modality is not video is definitely complex. Modality is not the issue. The issue is modality. By the way, video, what are videos? They're motion pictures, and motion pictures are an illusion. They play tricks on the eye, or they play tricks on the optical apparatus that we have from the eye, right from the eye to the occipital lobe. And I think it is, yes, it is occipital lobe. Wherever it is, I think it's at the back of the head. So this is the kind of the state of the this is the state of the art where brain research is concerned. And with AI, this is going to be on a different level altogether. This has been around for some time. This is not the first. I mean, it's nothing to do with AI. This has been around for years and years. So there'll be a history, and you will have to go through it. And I would recommend you to find out more about it, even if it's asking AI answers and so on. I wouldn't do that for. Again, I said that using AI is valuable when you're turning it into 100 times the amount you're, and that's why they're shifting to AI. That's a long-term strategy, and that's something I read on one of these sites the other day. They're working towards what's going to happen after 25 years, for example. Corporations are okay. So, would you start here? Would you start here? You do read this kind of thing because this is the thing as it is in the applied domain. Knowledge economy, you will have a paper that gives you this term, coining. On the other hand, you will have science fiction books, you will have children's books like Harry Potter. That's one reason I keep talking about Harry Potter. And Harry Potter borrows heavily from all sorts of things. So if you read the Odyssey, you'll find there's magic all over, right? And that's what. So you read magic books from Elizabethan England, witchcraft, witch hunting is of course something that will come up, and black books and so on. Lots of things. See, this this is, yeah. So this is getting into things that again, the very least I can say is serious stuff that you want to be cautious about. There are certain things that you don't demonology, right? So these are not things that you take lightly. Okay, this is one very good reason I don't talk about these things. I've already mentioned. So this is the kind of thing, and can you say that, right? So this is the kind of domain we are getting into, and it's best that you exercise caution while talking about things such as black magic, maybe. So this is something that you'd read because you wanted to find out what's the latest on this, and this is certainly authority enough. Federal Reserve Bank of Dallas, that's authority enough for informing yourself about what this is about, what these people have to say about this, for example. So thanks the world over, and there's think tanks by region. That will be a great resource to have an overview of what it is, like what's going on in this area of endeavor in different regions of the world. That gives me the cue. That's limited to a particular region in the world, not for the entire world. And you can see this is about transparency and good governance, social policy, foreign policy, international, domestic economics, and this. What I'm trying to say is this is what is visible. When you talk about names, you're talking about things like what you can do with these things, and a name has so much mystery surrounding it. Any name has so much mystery surrounding it, and I've already given you so many names of Krishna, for example. So this is I mean kind of pointers to how you could go about talking about certain things in philosophy, and we are talking about whether a name what a name functions as, of course, apart from being just a referent. And the referent has been used in different senses. It's kind of a contronym. So what is a contronym? That's what you would have on an exam, on a preliminary exam such as UGC and so on. So by the way, contronym, yeah. So a referent is used to, so this is the word, if you know about these things, right? So a referent is used to refer to something which refers to something and the thing referred to both. So that's an example of a contronym. Coming back to this, names, once you name something, The idea is, the issue is, and it's existed for as long as humans have existed, I believe. Don't ask me to prove it. You will have things like, and I've been looking at this thing for so long because of because of this thing on the screen. So because of the site and so on, and this is, I mean, this is very much a part of your consideration if you're looking at, okay, this is my writing and I will publish it and things like that. So the idea is analog whole. Once you let someone read your data, you risk the possibility of having this person record your it can be a text, it can be video, it can be anything. So recording videos on phone, DRM. I've already mentioned DRM, right? This is the idea. Waves OTT does not let you record videos, DRM videos on your phone. That kind of thing. If you read about renting, you will come across these things anyway. And I have already P2P sharing. If you know P2P sharing, torrenting is very much P2P sharing, semantic word cloud network or network, let's say. So we are talking about, and I've already mentioned, I think I've already mentioned this in one of the videos I've given you. The word is Python wrapper or whatever it is called, interface, or there's so much vocabulary. The word is jargon. Okay, the the thing is, if you understand the concept, you don't have to worry about remembering. I mean, you can't remember every single word that there exists, and you're talking about utility. You're talking about utility here, for example. So they are discussions that I'll defer for later. If ever I have time about those things, for those things, I will definitely take them up. NetworkX and GraphViz. GraphViz. This, if you wanted to create this, you would use Python to automate creating this. A related idea would be SVG maker in Python. And all of these things, they are more or less made redundant, not redundant, but yes, AI doing SVG, AI doing graphs with NetworkX. I said in the last videos, attach the bit AI with everything that you can think about, and you will have these things ready made for you. So freshly prepared, freshly baked, and however aesthetically beautiful you want to make it, and so on. Point being, analog whole. If you name something, you okay. Um, Analog whole, and you should read about this. And if you let someone access a name, you let this person access everything that the name entails. And this is, again, this is from philosophy. I'm sure there is a whole lot on this, and there is to be there is things to be explored, and literature to be read and cited, and the knowledge economy contributed to. And I'll keep talking about this. I'll have to think about how I can, because these are, I mean, this is how you start researching a topic. And you can already see that there's so much that you can put aside and leave for later, maybe, to look at just the words knowledge economy, and what particular aspect of the concept you want to talk about. Here I've talked about finding out about the concept from such a source and finding one particular piece of information about it, viz, or namely, what it has been in recent time. So the next step, the next step would be, this is recent. I'm searching it here because it's recent. So much to work your way through, right? So much to decide what's of use to you. So, what in knowledge economy would you like to talk about, and how can you gain? So, let's say primer on knowledge economy, and there is something titled so. So, this is 2000, right? 26 years ago. That's a good start. That'd be a good start, because otherwise you will be looking at these things, and you will want to find out, okay, I want a set of key pieces of information about this group of words. I will call them, instead of phrase, you can call it phrase, yes, but about this phrase. And from this list or table or set of pieces of information, I'll go on talking about a particular line of inquiry or line of thought and so on. And you could specify, you could narrow down, you could talk about what the context is, what the um, place is that we're talking about, and what the region is, and what the time is, and so on. So for this one, I'll have to stop here. I'll request you to kindly pursue this, find out more, and think about what you're doing. How, for example, so I would like to end on this note. So chapter Indian CBSE curriculum. Kshitij is the name of the book. Nice name. Kshitij means horizon. Mahadevi Verma, a famous writer in India, talks about naming. So she's been named Mahadevi. So Mahadevi, literal lame translation would be great goddess, but yes, Mahadevi is goddess. Okay, so you could talk about these things. You don't have to ask AI about this, because AI is, again, I'm talking about self-incrimination. So AI is not the best entity to ask. Okay, that's it for this one. Find out more about knowledge economy. We'll continue discussing this and other things in the upcoming videos. Thank you for your time. Stay tuned.